So there's this kid known as Evan Sharma, right? And he is a child prodigy artist, I guess. There's a whole channel of him on YouTube, and there's several videos that I stumbled across a couple days ago. Here's what he looks like.
His work is a reflection of seasoned experience, rigorous training, and the school of time. But this orchestra of color is conducted not by an elderly master, but a young one whose artistic soul doesn't know his age.
I'm 13 now, so I started just like as a hobby. It's something I love doing, and I guess it just kind of picked up from there. Like people start seeing it and talking to other people about it. What was a hobby became like this.
And this kid's video has like 300,000 views. It's basically him painting all over his room, on canvases, on different objects. He has like a turntable he's painting on. And the video is like labeling him as a prodigy, like some master of art. And apparently he sells his paintings, because in another video he sells it at some snooty art gallery auction for like $5,000. Funny, that video, the comments are disabled, the likes are disabled, so he don't want anyone discussing the value and the profits of his art, right? Because that's one thing artists don't like talking about is, it's all for the art, but I'm making tons of money. Anyway, point is, a lot of people in the comments section are saying that this person only has the ability to create this art because they have privilege, because their parents are wealthy. Apparently, poor people can't make art. And this really bothered me, because let me be frank, art is cheap. Making art is cheap. Anyone can get a cheap-ass sketch pad, even just a piece of paper and a crayon. Anyone, whether they're dirt poor in America, dirt poor almost anywhere in the world, can get a piece of paper and a pencil, a crayon, a pen to draw with, to make art with, okay? And not even, just sketching. Just talk about painting, right? I can go to a craft store or an art store near me, and I can get a pack of like 5 canvases that are like this big, maybe a foot by 8 inches, or some a little bigger, some a little smaller, all different sizes, right? I can get a pack of like 5 decent-sized canvases for like $15. Sometimes they have sales, buy one, get one free. So for $15, you get like 10 canvases, which is great. That's less than $2 each, right? Can't beat that, right? You can get cheap, 4-ounce tubes of paint for like $2.50 each, right? You can get sets of paint, like amateur beginner sets that are even cheaper, like $10, $5. You can get a whole array of colors and good sizes, right? You can get brushes. For a couple bucks, you can get a whole set of introductory basic brushes, and they're good. I use cheap brushes. You can get cheap brush sets for a couple bucks. They get you every little size you want. You can go to the hardware store. You can buy a brush for like $2, a bigger brush, if you're painting big, So I don't get this idea that you have to be wealthy or have wealthy parents to be able to do art, okay? Even the poorest of people can afford art. You can spend $30 for Christmas, and you can get your kid a bunch of canvases, a bunch of paint, and some cheap paintbrushes. And they can be painted for months with that, right? So I don't get this notion that it's only for wealthy, privileged people, okay? Speaking of paint, too, you can go to a yard sale and get paint. You can go to a moving sale, and you say, hey, this person's moving. They get a garage full of paint cans, various colors, various sizes, usually acrylic. And they'll say, you know what, just take it for free. Or give me a couple bucks, $10, you can have all the paint you want. You can have enough white paint to last you years, So you can even go to like Home Depot or Lowe's, hardware stores, and you can get, 8-ounce jars of paint for only a couple bucks. And that's good quality, because house paint is frankly good enough. A lot of the even Picasso used house paint for a while, at least that's what I've heard. So, you can get house paint, good quality, for low prices, even lower than the fancy, $30 tubes of Winsor and Newton or whatever it is at the fancy art stores. So you don't have to be wealthy to be able to do art. Now, is promoting this kid Is him selling his art for thousands of dollars at art galleries? Is him having some fancily edited YouTube video? Is that privilege from his parents? Probably. I mean, now I think he even has a sneaker line out, coming out with sneakers, I guess. He sees how Jordans were so successful. Why don't I just slap my art on what's the other one? Sailor Jerry or whatever that company is now that does that on the shoes. Anyway, like the tattoo design. So he thinks, I'll put my art on shoes and I'll make a ton of money. Right? It's business. Do you think if he had poor parents who knew nothing about business, who knew nothing about creating a whole website, because he has a website too. He has a very detailed, very well-made website. Somebody paid money, good money, to make that website, have that website be made. So is this privilege, having his art exposed to the world, having it sell at galleries for thousands of dollars? Probably. If you have poor, unconnected parents who don't know much about the art world, the tech world, the business world, or any of that, or don't have any money to pay someone to do this stuff, yeah, that's a bit privileged. But is being able to make art, good art, is that privilege? No. Anyone from the poorest person to the richest person can make art, and it has very little to do with their social class. Maybe 300 years ago, when it was harder to get pigments for the colors and canvas was more expensive and, you couldn't just go to the store and buy this stuff. Maybe that was true. But these days, anyone can go to a store, even a Walmart, and get cheap art supplies and start making art, right? You don't need thousands of dollars for art supplies to make art. And this idea that, poor families are too worried about money to actually do art. What? You ever heard of a starving artist? All these artists that were famous started out poor because they had no money. Picasso had to burn some of his paintings because he didn't have any money and he wanted to stay warm. So you're telling me that poor people don't have the luxury of free time or something? Okay, there's no child labor in this country anymore. Okay, so poor kids, when they come home from school, what are they doing? Besides doing their homework, they're either playing a game or they're on the internet or whatever they're doing, right? Playing with toys. So, don't tell me poor people have no free time, because they have plenty of free time. Maybe less free time than a child with wealthy parents, but still they have free time. And, they're worried. They're too worried about their economic woes to paint or something or to have expression. I don't know what some of these comments were talking about, but it's just like, no, this has little to do with their social class. Poor people can make art. Yeah, there's a stereotype that poor people don't care about the finer arts, and maybe poor people wouldn't persuade their children to start painting because they're poor. I'm a white trash, beer drinking, cigarette smoking redneck in a trailer park. I don't care about art. Right? Maybe the trailer park boys aren't pushing their kids to make art. They don't have kids in the show, but the trailer park culture. Maybe children in that culture aren't pushed to do art and finer things. But still, that's up to the person. And that's just a stereotype that's not true in every situation, that poor people just don't push their kids to do art. Yeah, wealthy parents probably push their kids to do more hobbies, but poor people can still do things. Poor people can still make art. So, getting it out there is different, right? Having connections, being business savvy, things like that. Maybe the poor people who work at Walmart or don't have the connections, they don't have the skills, they don't know where to go to, maybe they'll go to a local church or something and say, will you hang up my kid's art or something? But maybe they don't have the connections. But who knows? There are probably tons of poor families with kids who paint, who, if they wanted to, could push their kids into an auction, could push their kids onto a website, a Squarespace or something like that, or Wix, could put their kids on Etsy or eBay, their art, right? You don't need to be wealthy to do these things, okay? It helps a little with marketing your kid, but it's not necessary. So, yeah, poor people can make art. Okay? Just as good as rich people can make art. Maybe the rich kids can have higher quality paints and materials, but it doesn't really matter because you can get decent materials for cheap. paint for cheap, if not free. Stores will give it away. That do painting a lot, right? People will give it away when they're moving. Old cans of paint, right? You can get it for next to nothing. Okay? You can literally take pallets for free and nail them together and make a wooden board and paint on it and make it some fancy, rustic barnwood look and sell it to a bar or something to hang on the wall. You can make signs and stuff. You can do half that stuff for next to nothing. Okay? So I don't get this idea that poor people can't make art. I just don't. It's stupid. It's a class issue. It's not a class issue. It's not a class issue. Whatever. That was just me ranting, so yeah. It's funny though.